Imagine a sound so powerful, it can open a doorway to dimensions beyond your normal perception. A single vibration that lets you leave your body, explore the astral plane, and access knowledge and energy most people spend a lifetime searching for. What if I told you that this isn't some fantasy, but a secret the ancients discovered, and it's been hidden from the world for millennia? For thousands of years, this sound has been used to awaken consciousness, realign your energy, and unlock abilities that modern science is only beginning to understand. And today, for the first time, you're about to learn exactly how to harness it yourself. Are you ready to step beyond the limits of your reality and experience what most people only dream of? Because what I'm about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about your mind, your body, and the universe. You wake up to a world that feels muted, as if the air itself has grown heavy overnight. Even the familiar sounds, the distant hum of traffic, the gentle ticking of a clock, the soft whisper of wind against the window seem dampened, dulled by a layer of invisible weight. You've tried everything. Meditation apps, relaxing music, even guided binaural tones, yet the door you've long sensed remains closed. That doorway, the threshold to something more, something beyond ordinary perception, calls to you, faint but insistent. You feel its pull as a whisper beneath the clamor of daily life, a quiet vibration that promises you a glimpse of reality as it truly is. And what if I told you there is a sound, a single resonance, so precise that it could open that door, align your body and mind, and awaken a level of consciousness you have only sensed in fleeting moments of dreams or intuition? This sound is not myth or metaphor. It is a vibration, a frequency with the power to shift perception, to harmonize your internal rhythms, and to align the currents of energy that flow unseen through your body. The ancients called it the vibration of passage, a resonance that does not merely enter the ears, but permeates the entire body, every cell, every nerve, every subtle layer of being. It has been guarded, transmitted, and hidden across centuries, encoded in temples, whispered in sacred texts, practiced in secret by those who understood the nature of consciousness. It is waiting for those willing to listen, to feel, and to step into its flow. The Egyptians understood this principle better than any civilization that followed. Thoth, the so-called bird-headed deity, was far more than an icon or symbol. He was a master of consciousness, a scientist of the unseen, a practitioner of perception. In the temples of Karnak, Luxor, and Edfu, the priests intoned tones and hums, measured and precise, aligning not just with one another, but with the rhythms of human physiology itself. Modern neuroscience is only beginning to catch up. Sound, we now understand, is not simply heard. It is experienced, felt in the bones, the tissues, the nervous system. It affects neural pathways, brainwave patterns, even the very architecture of consciousness. The priests of Egypt intuited this centuries ago. They observed, experimented, and recorded effects, encoding their knowledge in ceremonial language, symbols, and ritual gestures to protect it from misuse and to ensure only the prepared could access the doorway. This resonance, when cultivated, is transformative. It creates an internal field where ordinary perception loosens and consciousness begins to expand. Time seems to slow. Thought becomes fluid, flexible. Energy flows freely, unblocked by habitual tension or mental rigidity. You begin to sense connections between events, people, and energy flows that you could not perceive before. Patterns emerge, subtle at first, but undeniable. You start to understand that the weight you have carried of limitation, fear, and habitual distraction is not inherent to life. It is the absence of resonance, and this single, precise sound is the key. Yet, it is not enough to simply produce the tone. Sound without awareness is empty, a bell rung in a deserted hall, echoing without impact. To awaken its power, it must be paired with conscious attention, breath, and intention. Your body is a vessel, your mind a receptive space, and your awareness is the key that unlocks the resonance. The ancients encoded these lessons in stories, in myths, in ceremonial practices, methods of training not for show, but for precision. Each note, each hum, each vibration was carefully measured to interact with the micro-rhythms of the human body. Heartbeat, breath, and the subtle currents of energy flowing through unseen channels. The sound did not simply create an altered state. It prepared the body and mind to cross the threshold safely, fully, and profoundly. Sound is more than vibration. It is a bridge. It bridges the physical and the energetic, the conscious and the subconscious, the temporal and the timeless. Every vibration resonates through cells, muscles, nerves, and organs, gently recalibrating them. When performed correctly, the effect is astonishing. You feel it in your chest, your abdomen, your spine, a gentle hum that travels through you, opening spaces that were previously constricted, loosening tension, releasing patterns of stress and contraction that have been stored in the body for years. This is not metaphysical speculation. Modern science has shown that specific sound frequencies influence the autonomic nervous system, regulating heart rate, reducing stress hormones, and even promoting neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. The ancients achieved this intuitively, without machines or devices, relying on nothing but their voices, breath, and awareness. And yet, there is more. Silence is the amplifier of sound. Just as a bell needs a quiet hall to resonate fully, the doorway to expanded consciousness requires the mind to be still. Priests and initiates spent hours, sometimes days, in preparation, cultivating silence, not simply the absence of sound, but the receptive inner space that allows vibration to be perceived fully. Listening is active. Awareness is the tuning fork that allows the sound to resonate. Without it, even the most precise tone passes through unnoticed, like water flowing over a rock. With it, every vibration penetrates deeply, realigning mind, body, and spirit, creating the internal conditions for an extraordinary transformation. Consider this. Every note, every harmonic you produce begins to reorganize your consciousness at a cellular and neural level. Pathways that were rigid begin to soften. Energy that was blocked flows again. Emotional patterns, long ingrained, begin to shift. Your perception expands beyond the habitual, ordinary awareness. You begin to see connections, patterns, and possibilities that were invisible before. Time, which once felt linear and pressing, now becomes elastic. The doorway, long sensed but never entered, trembles open. Yet, most people fail to access it because consciousness is a delicate instrument. The vibration, without preparation and awareness, has no power. It must be cultivated, synchronized with the rhythm of the body and mind. Breath and intention are as critical as the tone itself. This is why the ancients developed sequences of preparation, combining stillness, silent observation, and subtle bodily alignments to maximize resonance. These were not esoteric mysteries. They were practical science. Only when body, mind, and subtle energy are aligned does the sound truly open the door. Every vibration produces a ripple, a subtle recalibration in the body and brain. Neural firing patterns synchronize. Subtle energies shift, moving through the channels the Egyptians called the nadis. Consciousness begins to untether from habitual constraints. The ordinary world remains unchanged in appearance, yet something fundamental has shifted. You perceive life in layers, seeing the invisible threads that connect thought, energy, and experience. This is the threshold of the astral, the doorway that has been whispered about across centuries, across cultures, across traditions. And this doorway is not a fantasy. It is tangible, physiological, and experiential. It depends not on belief, but on alignment, the resonance of the sound, the quieting of the mind, the intentionality of the breath. In the next section, we will explore how to prepare the body and mind for this doorway, the precise relationship between vibration, breath, and energy flow, and how ancient practices intersect with modern neuroscience to create a safe, reproducible method for entering this expanded state. When practiced correctly, this sound is not merely heard, it is felt, lived, and integrated. It transforms the perception of reality itself. bending the boundaries of space, time, and self. To step through this doorway, you must first understand the relationship between your breath and the vibration you are about to cultivate. Breath is not simply a mechanical process. It is the conduit through which energy, awareness, and life force flow. The Egyptians understood this intuitively. Their rituals often began with deep, intentional breathing, not ritual for the sake of ritual, but preparation of the body's internal environment. Every inhale draws in more than air. It draws in potential. Every exhale releases what no longer serves, clearing space for the resonance to work. Most people today have lost this natural rhythm. Shallow, rapid chest breathing dominates our lives, creating tension, blocking energy, and limiting perception. The doorway to the astral plane cannot be opened under these conditions. The body must be supple, oxygenated, and responsive. The nervous system must be calm, receptive, and aligned with the frequency you intend to generate. Start by observing your natural breath, noticing the points of tension that prevent full expansion. Most people will notice a shallow rise in the chest, barely engaging the diaphragm. The abdomen remains rigid. The spine, often hunched, restricts the movement of energy through the central channel. This is not a flaw. It is a result of modern living, habitual patterns, and cultural conditioning. But it is reversible. Through conscious breath, you can awaken the internal channels, soften rigidity, and prepare your mind and body to resonate fully. This is why the ancients combined vocalization with breath. The sound alone is inert unless the body is ready to receive it. Once the body is prepared, the production of the vibration begins. It is not forceful or strained. In fact, the most powerful resonance comes from subtle, precise modulation of the vocal cords, the chest cavity, and the diaphragm. The tone is low, sustained, and deliberate. As you hum, chant, or intone the sound, you feel it as a physical vibration, traveling through the body, vibrating every organ, muscle, and nerve. This is not mystical, it is biological. The nervous system responds. Brainwave patterns shift toward alpha and theta states. The body releases tension, and the subtle energy channels align. What was once blocked begins to flow. You are literally creating an internal environment conducive to altered perception, opening the doorway in a manner that is safe, controlled, and profound. It is here, in this resonance, that time begins to soften. The linear progression that dominates ordinary consciousness gives way to something far more fluid. You notice patterns repeating, connections emerging, subtle energies intertwining. You begin to perceive your reality layered with subtle dimensions, moments where thought, intention, and energy intersect. This is the threshold, and it is profoundly simple, though simplicity is often invisible to those unprepared. There is no complexity to master beyond alignment of breath, sound, and awareness. The ancients disguised it with ceremony, ritual, and allegory to protect it from misuse. But the principle remains the same. A precise frequency, sustained and resonant, paired with calm, attentive consciousness, opens the doorway. The first attempts may be subtle. Perhaps a shift in perception, a feeling of lightness, a sense of energy moving through the body, perhaps a momentary detachment from the physical world, as though the edges of ordinary perception have softened. This is the beginning. Do not be frustrated if it is not dramatic. The doorway is not a simple portal that opens instantly. It is a process of synchronization, aligning body, mind, and energy to the vibration you are producing. Persistence, consistency, and awareness are the keys. Every repetition strengthens the neural pathways, trains the body to receive the resonance, and gradually expands consciousness. There is a rhythm to this practice. Breath, sound, observation, alignment, repetition. Each layer reinforces the other. When performed correctly, it is like tuning a finely crafted instrument. The voice, the body, and the mind begin to harmonize, producing an internal resonance that is both felt and experienced at the deepest level. This is how the ancients passed knowledge. They did not give abstract instruction. They trained practitioners through repetition, observation, and feedback, guiding them into direct experience of expanded states. The knowledge was encoded in the sound itself. To produce it correctly is to internalize wisdom that transcends words. As you continue, the sound begins to dissolve the habitual boundaries of consciousness. The ordinary mind, tied to temporal concerns, begins to recede. Attention sharpens, yet expands, a paradox that is difficult to articulate. The doorway opens not in a moment of fantasy, but in a subtle shift. The sense of self loosens, awareness expands, and perception flows into layers of reality previously inaccessible. These are not hallucinations. They are experiences of dimensions of consciousness that exist alongside the ordinary world, normally hidden by the patterns of habitual thought, sensory overload, and physical tension. The vibration acts as a key, aligning the physical and energetic systems, allowing perception to penetrate into these subtle realms. Some will experience physical sensations first. Tingling in the hands and feet, warmth spreading through the body, subtle pulses or waves moving along the spine. These are signs that energy pathways are opening, that the nervous system is responding to the resonance. Others will notice mental shifts, clarity, insight, subtle awareness of patterns in thought, emotion, or environment. These signs are confirmations that the doorway is responding to your practice. Do not expect uniformity. Each person's physiology, nervous system, and subtle energy patterns are unique. The doorway opens in a manner specific to your being, guided by internal alignment rather than external expectation. Here is where preparation becomes essential. Just as a musical instrument must be tuned before performance, so must your internal systems be ready. Breath must be deep, full, and rhythmically consistent. Mind must be calm and observant, not striving or grasping. Body must be aligned, relaxed yet attentive, creating a vessel capable of receiving and integrating resonance. Neglect any of these aspects, and the doorway resists, subtle vibrations dissipate, and the experience is muted. This is why guidance, careful preparation, and conscious awareness are critical. The ancient texts emphasize patience, repetition, and subtle observation, because rushing the process diminishes the resonance and weakens perception. Even the environment matters. Sound interacts with space. Reverberation, silence, and stillness all contribute to the effectiveness of the vibration. Ancient temples were designed with precise acoustics, amplifying resonance and harmonizing with human physiology. Modern practitioners can recreate similar conditions: quiet spaces, minimal distractions, attention to posture, and deliberate control of breath and sound. These external factors enhance internal resonance, magnifying the effects of the vibration and increasing the likelihood of opening the doorway fully and safely. Once aligned, the experience deepens. You feel the ordinary boundaries of self soften. Time seems to fold. Perceptions layer, and consciousness expands. This is the astral threshold. Entering it is not a leap into fantasy, but a step into alignment. Physical, mental, and energetic systems in harmony with the vibration. The doorway opens through internal resonance, the alignment of subtle energies, and conscious attention to breath and sound. What follows is a direct, tangible experience of consciousness beyond ordinary perception. A state that has been described in myths, sacred texts, and ancient traditions for millennia. The implications are profound. Once you experience this state, your relationship with ordinary reality changes. You perceive patterns, subtle energies, and possibilities invisible before. You begin to understand the interconnection of mind, body, energy, and environment. The doorway is not simply a personal experience. It is a tool for perception, insight, and transformation. The ancients guarded this knowledge because it fundamentally changes how a person interacts with reality. Misuse or misunderstanding can unsettle perception, but when practiced correctly, it becomes a gateway to expanded awareness, clarity, and insight. As you master this resonance, subtle shifts accumulate. Mental rigidity softens. Emotional patterns loosen. Energy flows more freely. Awareness deepens. Over time, ordinary perception begins to shift permanently, integrating expanded states of consciousness into daily life. The doorway no longer requires deliberate effort to access. The vibration becomes internalized, awareness expands naturally, and the mind-body system becomes a living instrument, continuously resonating in alignment with higher patterns of perception. This is why preparation, consistency, and alignment are not optional. The doorway does not respond to wishful thinking, casual curiosity, or scattered effort. It responds to internal harmony, breath, sound, posture, awareness. Only by cultivating these layers in unison does the resonance open the doorway fully, safely, and sustainably. Each session reinforces the previous, creating a cumulative effect that transforms physiology, perception, and consciousness simultaneously. Once you have achieved alignment, the doorway begins to stabilize. The initial flutter of perception becomes sustained. Vibrations resonate not just in the body, but in awareness itself. Time, which normally presses forward like an unyielding current, now feels pliable. Each breath and intonation you create sets a rhythm that your consciousness naturally follows. You are no longer subject to time. You are interacting with it. This is the subtle yet profound shift the ancients referred to when they spoke of duration controlled by the practitioner. It is not metaphorical. Your cells, your nervous system, your energy pathways all respond to this shift. Biological processes slow, focus sharpens, and intuition deepens. You begin to perceive the interconnectedness of all things not in abstract, but in direct experiential awareness. At this stage, the body may begin to feel weightless. Limbs feel light, and ordinary sensations take on a subtle clarity, as though amplified. This is a sign that internal energy is circulating freely. Some practitioners report tingling along the spine or across the extremities. Others notice a pulsing sensation in the chest or head. These are signals that the energy channels, long constricted by habitual tension and shallow breathing, are opening. This is not accidental or mystical. It is the body's response to precise vibrational alignment. The frequency you generate acts as a tuning fork, bringing resonance into harmony with internal systems, producing an emergent state in which astral perception becomes accessible. The mind, which often floods consciousness with distraction, begins to quiet naturally. Thoughts are no longer fragmented or intrusive. Instead, they appear like clouds passing over an open sky. Awareness is expanded, clear, and continuous. Here, at this threshold, the sound functions as both key and bridge. It is simultaneously the mechanism by which the doorway opens and the vehicle by which consciousness can cross it. The ancients understood that mere meditation, without vibrational alignment, produces limited access. The sound is what synchronizes the physical, emotional, and energetic layers of your being, allowing them to act as one. Only through this unified resonance does the doorway become accessible in a stable, sustained way. Once the astral doorway is entered, perception changes in ways that are initially subtle. The ordinary sense of self softens, but does not vanish. There is a sense of presence in which identity is fluid, aware, and expansive. The environment seems layered, multidimensional, and alive with energy currents that are ordinarily invisible. You may notice that objects appear differently, time stretches or compresses, and the boundaries between self and surroundings become permeable. These are the hallmarks of the threshold state, neither dream nor physical reality, but a liminal space in which consciousness perceives without the usual constraints. It is essential to maintain focus without attachment. The doorway is not a spectacle, it is an observatory. The purpose is to explore consciousness itself, not to chase visions or fantasies. The ancients warned against indulgence in sensory or emotional distractions because the resonance can amplify whatever you bring into it. Awareness must be deliberate, curious, and calm. Emotional regulation is crucial. Strong attachment, fear, or anxiety can distort perception and close the doorway. Conversely, a relaxed, receptive, and observant state strengthens alignment, allowing perception to deepen naturally without effort or strain. Physical positioning is subtle but important. The body should be aligned in a way that supports free energy flow. Spinal alignment, relaxed shoulders, and slightly extended neck create an internal pathway for energy to circulate. The sound you generate travels through this conduit, interacting with both physical and subtle layers. Hand positions, facial relaxation, and micro-adjustments in posture enhance resonance. The ancients often combined these subtle physical adjustments with breath and sound precisely for this reason, to optimize internal circuitry for multidimensional perception. The physical is inseparable from the perceptual. As you deepen the practice, the vibration begins to interact with memory, emotion, and imagination in profound ways. Images, impressions, and sensations arise spontaneously. These are not hallucinations. They are reflections of consciousness as it reorganizes in response to vibrational alignment. The astral plane, as described in texts and traditions, is not separate from reality. It is a dimension of consciousness layered atop physical experience. The sound you produce allows you to perceive these layers directly, creating insight and understanding that is otherwise inaccessible. Awareness expands to include patterns, energies, and relationships that normally go unnoticed, revealing connections that are simultaneously subtle and profound. Over time, repeated practice creates a cumulative effect. Neural pathways strengthen, energetic channels remain open longer, and perception becomes increasingly stable. The doorway no longer requires intensive focus to access. Your system becomes naturally attuned to the resonance. Breathing, posture, and sound integrate into daily life, allowing glimpses of expanded perception even outside formal practice. Awareness expands seamlessly, and you begin to experience the world with subtlety, clarity, and heightened sensitivity. Ordinary experiences are imbued with depth and resonance, reflecting the integration of the astral and physical dimensions of consciousness. The transformative effects are not limited to perception. Emotional patterns shift, anxiety softens, emotional reactivity diminishes, energy stabilizes. The resonance recalibrates the nervous system, optimizing autonomic function. You experience clarity of thought, emotional stability, and an internal sense of spaciousness. This is the physiological confirmation of alignment, body, mind, and energy functioning as a unified system. The sound you generate, once mastered, continues to resonate subtly within, even outside formal practice, maintaining energetic and perceptual coherence. Many seekers, when they first experience this doorway, feel compelled to share insights. But it is critical to approach sharing with caution. The knowledge itself is powerful, and the doorway is fragile. Misunderstanding or misapplication can disrupt both perception and emotional regulation. The ancients encoded guidance, caution, and structured practice to protect practitioners from harm. The emphasis is always on disciplined alignment, breath, posture, sound, and awareness. It is the combination of these elements, practiced consistently, that produces safe and sustainable access to the astral dimensions. Eventually, the practice leads to a profound understanding of the relationship between sound, energy, and consciousness. You realize that vibration is not merely a tool, but a medium through which consciousness organizes, perceives, and expands. The astral doorway is thus both literal and metaphorical. It is a passage to expanded awareness, but also a mirror of your internal state. As internal coherence increases, so too does stability in perception, insight, and emotional resilience. The doorway becomes a natural extension of your being, reflecting the mastery of alignment, resonance, and subtle energy cultivated over time. At the highest levels, the vibration itself becomes intuitive. You no longer need deliberate effort to generate resonance. Awareness itself aligns automatically. Breath and sound synchronize naturally, and consciousness flows freely into the astral dimensions. Time, energy, and perception merge, creating a state in which ordinary boundaries dissolve, and insight emerges effortlessly. This is the ultimate purpose of the practice. Not to escape reality, but to integrate expanded perception into life, revealing the underlying patterns, intelligence, and interconnection of all things. Consistency is essential. The doorway is maintained, strengthened, and stabilized only through regular practice. The vibration, once cultivated, is like a seed. Unattended, it weakens. Nurtured, it flourishes. Daily alignment reinforces neural, energetic, and perceptual systems, creating durable access to expanded consciousness. The ancients emphasized that mastery was less about force and more about patience, observation, and refinement. Each session refines resonance, deepens perception, and strengthens internal coherence. The door remains open, but only if tended to with care and discipline. Ultimately, the experience reveals a profound truth. Consciousness is not limited by the physical body, linear time, or ordinary perception. Vibrational alignment through breath, sound, and awareness is the key to opening the astral doorway. This practice, though ancient, is accessible to anyone willing to cultivate internal harmony, discipline, and attention. The doorway is not exotic or mystical. It is a reflection of the natural potential within all human beings. What is required is patience, consistency, and reverence for the subtle intelligence of body, mind, and energy. The knowledge of this vibration, the secret sound, has been preserved across millennia. It is encoded in myth, ritual, and sacred teaching. Yet the essence is simple. Align the body, calm the mind, and produce precise resonance. The rest emerges naturally. This is why the ancients emphasized preparation, discipline, and repetition. The doorway cannot be forced, but it can be cultivated. Step by step, breath by breath, vibration by vibration, consciousness expands. The astral threshold becomes accessible, stable, and sustainable, revealing the profound interconnectedness of all things and the infinite potential of human perception. Once the initial doorway stabilizes, the practitioner begins to notice subtler layers of perception unfolding. These layers are not immediately obvious. They are often experienced as shifts in attention, changes in sensory acuity, or fleeting impressions that appear almost like echoes of other dimensions. The sound you generate becomes more refined, more precise, and its effect on consciousness deepens. What was once a threshold experience now begins to feel like a continuum, a persistent state in which astral perception is woven into ordinary awareness. This is where the practice moves beyond technique and into art, the art of resonant living. The vibration you produce resonates not only with your physical body, but with the very structure of perception itself, creating a coherence that allows you to navigate the astral plane with clarity and intention. At this stage, the body may begin to respond in ways that are both subtle and profound. Muscles release long-held tension, joints feel lighter, and the spine takes on a natural alignment that supports energy flow. These physical changes are reflections of deeper energetic shifts. The astral doorway is not a separate realm. It is a reflection of internal coherence. When energy circulates freely, consciousness naturally perceives beyond the limitations of ordinary sensory input. The sound you generate acts as a bridge between the material and astral, translating internal alignment into perceptual access. Every vibration reinforces the feedback loop between body, mind, and consciousness, creating a stable environment in which the astral becomes accessible without strain or force. The mind, once a source of distraction, now becomes a tool for exploration. Thoughts are no longer intrusive. They are observed, categorized, and released with minimal effort. Emotional turbulence, which once disrupted perception, now dissolves in the presence of resonance. This is the subtle alchemy of vibrational practice. Internal tension and chaos are transformed into clarity and coherence. Practitioners often report a sense of effortless insight, in which understanding arises without deliberation. The doorway becomes a conduit for intuition, creativity, and perception that extends beyond ordinary limitations. Time, space, and causality begin to feel more flexible, and the practitioner learns to navigate these dimensions with awareness rather than control. As practice deepens, the sound itself evolves. Initial tones are deliberate, structured, and focused. Over time, they become fluid, responsive, and dynamic, adapting to internal and external shifts in real time. This is a form of energetic feedback. The vibration interacts with consciousness, which in turn modulates the sound, creating a self-sustaining loop. This dynamic resonance is the hallmark of advanced practice. It signals that the practitioner has moved beyond mechanical repetition into an intuitive understanding of the principles that govern the doorway. The sound is no longer a tool. It is a language, a medium through which consciousness communicates with itself across dimensions. Perception expands further as the astral doorway stabilizes. Ordinary sensory input becomes layered with additional impressions. Subtle colors, shapes, and energies that exist outside the conventional visual spectrum. Shifts in temperature, pressure, and density that reflect energetic currents. And fleeting impressions of entities, landscapes, and patterns that exist within the astral plane. These are not hallucinations, they are valid perceptual experiences that become accessible once the vibrational alignment reaches a certain threshold. The ancients encoded techniques to refine this perception, emphasizing patience, repetition, and attentional focus. Misalignment at this stage can lead to confusion or overstimulation, which is why the discipline of breath, posture, and sound remains crucial. One of the most striking effects of consistent practice is the stabilization of consciousness across dimensions. Early experiences often feel fragmented. One foot in the physical, one foot in the astral. Over time, coherence develops. Awareness spans multiple layers simultaneously, creating a state of presence that is both grounded and expansive. This duality is central to advanced practice. The practitioner is fully anchored in physical reality while simultaneously perceiving subtle energies, patterns, and dimensions that exist beyond ordinary awareness. The doorway is no longer a threshold but a natural state of consciousness, in which perception, intuition, and insight operate in continuous synchrony. Energy, once trapped or stagnant, now flows effortlessly through the body. Practitioners report sensations of warmth, tingling, or a gentle vibration that moves through the spine and extremities. These are markers of the energetic pathways opening fully. The sound resonates with these channels, enhancing circulation, stimulating neural plasticity, and activating regenerative processes at the cellular level. This is why advanced practitioners often experience physical rejuvenation alongside perceptual expansion. The vibrational practice aligns internal systems, harmonizing biological, energetic, and perceptual functions. The doorway, in essence, is as much a physiological phenomenon as it is a perceptual one. At this point, the practitioner begins to perceive the interconnectedness of all things. Energies, emotions, and thoughts are seen as part of a vast network of interaction. Cause and effect are understood not as linear sequences, but as dynamic feedback loops in which consciousness both influences and is influenced by surrounding energies. This awareness transforms ordinary experience. Relationships, environments, and events are interpreted with heightened clarity, empathy, and understanding. The astral doorway becomes a lens through which the structure of reality itself can be perceived, not as abstract theory, but as lived experience. The role of intention becomes increasingly apparent. Early practice relies on sound, breath, and posture to stabilize access. Advanced practice emphasizes directed intention, consciously guiding attention, emotion, and energy to explore specific aspects of consciousness. This is not manipulation of the astral, but alignment of internal systems with desired perceptual outcomes. Intention, when combined with precise resonance, allows the practitioner to navigate complex layers of perception safely and effectively. It is a process of co-creation with consciousness itself, revealing insights, guidance, and understanding that are inaccessible through ordinary sensory input. Repeated engagement with the doorway has cumulative effects on the nervous system. Autonomic regulation improves, stress response stabilizes, and cognitive function sharpens. The practitioner experiences heightened clarity, emotional balance, and a sustained sense of presence. These are not side effects, they are integral components of the vibrational practice. The doorway stabilizes not merely as a perceptual phenomenon, but as a state of integrated mind, body, energy, coherence. Consciousness, biology, and energy systems synchronize, producing a state of well-being and perceptual access that is both profound and sustainable. Ultimately, the practice reveals that the astral doorway is not separate from life, it is life itself, perceived through the lens of expanded consciousness. Sound, breath, and alignment are tools for uncovering the latent capacities of awareness that exist in every human being. The doorway is simultaneously a mirror and a bridge, a reflection of internal coherence and a pathway to dimensions of perception beyond ordinary experience. Mastery does not involve escaping reality, but integrating expanded perception into every moment, cultivating clarity, insight, and understanding. The final stage of advanced practice involves harmonizing daily life with vibrational principles. Sound, breath, posture, and awareness are integrated into ordinary activities, creating a continuous state of alignment. The doorway is no longer a special practice. It is a living, ongoing state. Ordinary tasks, conversations, and movements are imbued with awareness, presence, and resonance. The astral dimension is not confined to meditation or ritual. It becomes inseparable from the flow of life, enhancing perception, intuition, and energetic coherence in every moment. This integration also extends to interpersonal and environmental interactions. The vibrational alignment cultivated through practice radiates outward, affecting relationships, surroundings, and social dynamics. Awareness of energetic patterns in others allows for deeper empathy and understanding, while subtle shifts in personal resonance influence collective environments. The doorway is not only a personal phenomenon, it becomes a conduit for influencing the broader field of consciousness, revealing the profound interconnection between individual practice and collective awareness. At this advanced stage, practitioners begin to notice that the sound is no longer something they produce. It becomes something they embody. The vibration emerges spontaneously from the alignment of body, mind, and consciousness, a natural expression of internal coherence rather than a deliberate act. This is the hallmark of mastery. The doorway is no longer accessed by technique alone, but through resonance that arises effortlessly from being fully present. Each breath, each tone, each subtle movement becomes an integrated expression of self, harmonizing internal systems while simultaneously opening perception to the astral plane. The sound is both an anchor and a key, stabilizing awareness while expanding consciousness beyond ordinary limits. The sensations associated with the doorway become increasingly refined. Energy is felt not only in large, sweeping movements, but also in microcurrents. The subtle tingling in fingertips, the gentle flow along nerve pathways, the rhythmic pulsing in the spine. These micro-perceptions are not incidental. They are the language of the astral, guiding attention to regions of awareness that are otherwise overlooked. The practitioner learns to interpret these cues, responding with intention rather than reaction. The astral plane is not chaotic but structured. It responds to resonance and coherence, allowing for navigation that is precise, deliberate, and safe. Sleep patterns, once fragmented, begin to change. Dream states become lucid, and the boundary between waking and astral consciousness blurs. Practitioners often report entering what could be described as continuous dream awareness, a state in which insight and perception flow freely across physical and astral realms. This is facilitated by the vibrational practice. The sound aligns the nervous system, stabilizes attention, and harmonizes biological rhythms, allowing the brain to process and integrate experiences across multiple layers of reality. Dreams are no longer random events. They become a medium for exploration, problem-solving, and guidance from dimensions beyond ordinary perception. As practice deepens, the vibrational doorway begins to influence creativity and problem-solving. The expanded perception and heightened intuition foster novel connections, insights, and solutions that were previously inaccessible. Artists, scientists, and thinkers often describe moments of inspiration that arrive spontaneously, accompanied by a sense of clarity and alignment. This is not coincidence. The resonance cultivated through sound, breath, and alignment expands neuroplasticity, improves attentional control, and enhances cognitive flexibility. The doorway is both a tool for perception and a catalyst for higher-order functioning, bridging the internal and external, the personal and the universal. Emotional regulation becomes increasingly effortless. Long-standing patterns of fear, anxiety, or frustration dissolve as the vibrational practice harmonizes the autonomic nervous system. The practitioner experiences a sustained state of equanimity, in which challenges are met with calm awareness rather than reactive tension. This emotional stability is not suppression. It is the result of alignment, coherence, and expanded perception. The astral doorway functions as a stabilizing influence, teaching the practitioner that the root of emotional turbulence is often misalignment within internal systems. When resonance is restored, emotional clarity naturally follows. Energy exchange with the environment becomes more pronounced. The practitioner perceives subtle currents in the air, fluctuations in electromagnetic energy, and shifts in group dynamics. These impressions are not mystical but physiological and perceptual. The body and consciousness respond to subtle cues, and the doorway amplifies sensitivity to these patterns. Over time, practitioners learn to navigate these currents with awareness, using resonance and alignment to harmonize, rather than be disrupted by external energies. This deepened sensitivity fosters empathy, environmental attunement, and the ability to act with precision and intentionality in both personal and collective contexts. The doorway also facilitates access to memory and information that is not bound by conventional temporal constraints. Past experiences, latent knowledge, and intuitive insights emerge spontaneously, often accompanied by vivid clarity. Practitioners report accessing solutions to problems that had seemed intractable, recalling forgotten skills, or understanding events from entirely new perspectives. This is a natural consequence of the vibrational alignment. The nervous system stabilizes attention and memory networks, while consciousness is freed from habitual constraints that limit perception. Information flows more fluidly, and learning becomes instantaneous and integrated. Physical health and resilience continue to improve. Circulation, lymphatic drainage, and nervous system regulation benefit from the repeated alignment and vibration practices. Muscular tension is released, joint flexibility improves, and metabolic processes stabilize. Practitioners often report increased energy, reduced inflammation, and heightened sensory acuity. The doorway is thus not only perceptual but regenerative. The sound and alignment practices synchronize physiological systems, creating a foundation for long-term health, vitality, and resilience. Biological aging slows as internal coherence improves, demonstrating that the doorway is as much a tool for physical optimization as it is for consciousness expansion. Social and relational dynamics shift dramatically. As perception expands, practitioners become aware of patterns, motives, and unspoken dynamics in relationships. This awareness allows for more effective communication, boundary setting, and empathy. The doorway cultivates a sense of presence that permeates interactions, creating resonance in relationships that fosters trust, clarity, and connection. Practitioners notice that conflicts resolve more easily, collaborations flourish, and social perception deepens. The doorway thus extends beyond personal experience into relational and social intelligence, allowing the practitioner to navigate complex dynamics with subtlety and precision. A sense of purpose becomes clear. The vibrational doorway is not merely a tool for perception or exploration. It is a path toward alignment with life itself. Practitioners report a profound sense of meaning, as if life itself is more coherent and purposeful. This clarity is not imposed. It emerges naturally from the resonance cultivated through practice. The sound, breath, and alignment harmonize perception, energy, and consciousness, revealing pathways, opportunities, and insights that align with the individual's highest potential. Life becomes a canvas on which consciousness can act with intention, insight, and creative freedom, reflecting the profound interconnectedness revealed through the doorway. At this stage, the practitioner understands that mastery is not about achieving extraordinary feats, but about integration, integrating perception, energy, and consciousness into every aspect of life. The doorway becomes a lens through which ordinary experience is enriched, revealing layers of subtlety, beauty, and coherence that are invisible to those operating at lower levels of resonance. Sound is no longer a tool to access an alternate realm. It is a medium for living in harmony with all dimensions of experience, fully grounded in the present while attuned to subtle realities. The culmination of this practice reveals the most profound truth. The doorway to the astral plane is not separate from daily life. It is life itself. Every breath, every movement, Every sound you produce is an invitation to step beyond ordinary perception. The practitioner realizes that the secret sound was never a single note, a mystical vibration, or an external artifact. It is the resonance of consciousness itself. By cultivating alignment, presence, and coherence, the sound naturally arises from within, opening doors that have always existed but were obscured by distraction, conditioning, and habitual disconnection. Time perception undergoes a radical transformation. Moments stretch and compress in ways that feel intentional rather than arbitrary. Ordinary experiences are infused with depth and clarity, revealing layers of meaning that were previously unnoticed. The practitioner begins to perceive time as elastic, responsive, and intimately connected to internal states of resonance. This is a key insight. The doorway is as much about mastery of subjective experience as it is about traversing external realms. By harmonizing internal systems, the practitioner effectively synchronizes with broader temporal and energetic patterns, experiencing life as a fluid continuum rather than a series of fragmented events. The connection between sound, vibration, and consciousness becomes undeniable. The practitioner learns to use subtle tonal shifts to influence perception, focus, and emotional states. A single hum, resonated with attention and intention, can shift mood, clear mental fog, or synchronize internal rhythms. This is not mystical thinking, but applied science. The nervous system and biofield respond to frequency, coherence, and resonance, and the doorway magnifies this effect. Over time, mastery of this principle allows for self-regulation on unprecedented levels, providing access to heightened creativity, emotional equilibrium, and intuitive insight. Astral experiences themselves become increasingly structured. The practitioner navigates landscapes with intention, meeting guides, observing phenomena, and interacting with subtle energies in ways that are coherent and meaningful. The doorway functions as both a stabilizer and a compass, allowing exploration without disorientation. This is a critical distinction. Unlike uncontrolled dreaming or dissociation, the astral plane accessed through this method is precise, responsive, and navigable. Each session provides feedback, insight, and integration, bridging the gap between altered perception and practical understanding. As practice deepens, the practitioner notices an increasing overlap between the astral and physical planes. Guidance received during exploration often manifests in practical decision-making, problem-solving, and insight. Physical health, relationships, and creativity benefit directly from insights gained in expanded states. The doorway is no longer simply a place of escape or curiosity. It becomes a laboratory for life, a space in which consciousness can experiment, refine, and harmonize with both internal and external realities. The sound serves as the constant bridge, keeping perception grounded even as awareness expands. Long-term practitioners describe a profound shift in identity. The sense of separation between self and environment, self and others, self and the universe, diminishes. The doorway reveals that boundaries are fluid, that consciousness is interconnected, and that resonance shapes reality at every level. This insight fosters humility, compassion, and deep alignment with natural law. The practitioner recognizes that mastery is not about dominance or control, but about attuning to the inherent intelligence of life itself. The sound is a mirror for this intelligence, a tangible expression of the subtle harmony that permeates existence. Integration into daily life becomes seamless. The doorway is no longer reserved for formal practice sessions. It informs every action, decision, and perception. Movement is fluid and conscious, breath is intentional, and sound is used with awareness to harmonize energy and perception. Emotional and mental states are observed, regulated, and aligned through subtle shifts in vibration. This level of mastery transforms life from a series of challenges and reactions into a continuous flow of conscious participation. The practitioner experiences a heightened sense of agency, clarity, and purpose, embodying the principles of resonance in every interaction and decision. The doorway also fosters a profound connection to natural and cosmic cycles. Observing the sun, moon, and planetary rhythms becomes a practice of alignment rather than mere observation. The practitioner notices correlations between internal states and external patterns, learning to anticipate and harmonize with natural fluctuations. This alignment magnifies the effects of vibrational practice, creating a feedback loop of resonance, insight, and coherence. Life becomes a symphony in which each moment, like a note in a melody, contributes to a larger harmonious pattern. Practitioners often report a sense of timelessness, as if they are simultaneously present in multiple layers of reality. The doorway allows access to past experiences, latent abilities, and potential futures, revealing the interconnectedness of all states of consciousness. This multidimensional awareness enhances intuition, problem-solving, and decision-making, providing a profound sense of security, empowerment, and clarity. The secret sound becomes both a tool and a symbol. It embodies the principle that reality itself responds to resonance, and that consciousness has the capacity to navigate, influence, and harmonize with multiple dimensions simultaneously. The most remarkable shift, however, is the realization that the doorway is not a means to escape reality, but a method to fully inhabit it. Life becomes richer, more vivid, and more meaningful. Every interaction, every sensation, every decision is experienced with heightened clarity and presence. The doorway has revealed not a separate plane to explore, but a way of being a method for harmonizing perception, energy, and consciousness to fully participate in the richness of existence. The sound is both the key and the expression of this harmony, a constant reminder that alignment and resonance are the gateways to expanded awareness. As the practice solidifies, mastery of the doorway leads to profound self-sovereignty. The practitioner understands that aging, limitation, and disconnection are not inevitable. They are the result of misalignment, distraction, and fragmentation. By cultivating resonance through breath, sound, and movement, consciousness is optimized, perception is expanded, and energy flows freely. The doorway demonstrates that every individual possesses the inherent capacity to access higher states of awareness, heightened health, and deeper insight. The secret sound is the tangible expression of this principle, a vibration that unlocks the latent potential within every cell, every thought, and every action. This is the final lesson of the doorway. Mastery is not about performing extraordinary feats, but about embodying coherence, alignment, and resonance in every moment. The sound, once a tool, becomes an extension of self, naturally arising whenever attention is focused, presence is maintained, and consciousness is harmonized. Life itself becomes a continuous practice, a living meditation in which the astral, mental, emotional, and physical dimensions are integrated. The doorway has revealed that the most profound journeys are not about traveling to distant realms, but about awakening the latent potential within and aligning with the fundamental harmony of existence. The implications are enormous. By consistently practicing the principles revealed through this sound, practitioners experience profound transformation, heightened awareness, emotional balance, physical vitality, and intuitive clarity. Relationships deepen, creative expression flourishes, and life assumes a coherence and richness that were previously inaccessible. The doorway is both the method and the result, an unfolding process in which consciousness, energy, and life converge in alignment. The secret sound is no longer a hidden key. It is a living principle, accessible to anyone willing to cultivate presence, resonance, and intentionality. You now have the blueprint. The secret sound, when combined with breath, movement, and awareness, opens not only the astral plane, but also the hidden dimensions of your own being. Daily practice rewires your nervous system, stabilizes perception, and harmonizes internal rhythms. You experience clarity, vitality, and flow, as well as a deep sense of connection to the broader patterns of existence. This is the ultimate reclamation of sovereignty, the understanding that your consciousness is not passive, but participatory, that your energy shapes reality, and that your awareness is the key to navigating, exploring, and thriving in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The next step is clear. Begin. Start with the breath, engage with the vibration, and cultivate awareness. Allow the sound to resonate through your body, mind, and consciousness, and notice the doorway respond. Begin with a few minutes each day, gradually extending practice as your alignment deepens. Observe the changes in perception, energy, and coherence, and integrate these insights into daily life. Remember, mastery is not a destination, but a process, a continuous unfolding of awareness, resonance, and presence. Your invitation has been extended. The doorway exists, the sound exists, and the potential within you exists. All that remains is your willingness to step through. Each breath, each vibration, each moment of awareness is an opportunity to unlock the hidden dimensions of your being. This is your time, your doorway, your resonance. Align, listen, and step forward. Your astral journey and your fully realized, vibrant life awaits. If you're ready to embrace this practice, to open the doorway and harmonize with your highest potential, start today. Practice the breath, cultivate the vibration, and allow awareness to expand naturally. Share this knowledge with others who are ready to awaken. Commit to the journey, and watch as your life transforms in ways that transcend ordinary perception. The secret sound is not hidden, the doorway is not locked, and the power has always been within you. Take the first step now. Begin your journey today. Practice the breath, engage the vibration, and awaken the doorway within you. Share this knowledge, commit to the daily alignment, and watch your consciousness, energy, and life transform. The secret sound is waiting. Step through the doorway and reclaim your sovereignty.